Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning. This week rages on. I'm exhausted, but man, it has been a blast putting together my list of the year this year. I mean, honestly, when this year got all out of whack, I was kind of worried about where music was going. But alas, we are here, and we have had a lot of great music this year. Chatted a little bit about my favorite EPs yesterday. If you haven't seen that video yet, go check it out and come back. Today we're chatting about my top 50 singles of the year. A couple of housekeeping items. First off, yes, I limited this to just singles. There's a lot of these cases where a lot of the albums that these tracks came off of, I might have enjoyed some of the deeper cuts on the album. Secondly, I think outside of one kind of feature, I limited it to one track per artist. And third and most importantly, this is all just opinion. Don't forget that. It's a big thing. Without further ado, let's blast into my top 50 singles of 2020. At number 50, one of my favorite tracks off the new Gorillaz album. I think the funnest track here by far. It's Aries featuring Peter Hook and Georgia. At number 49, it's Tame Impala with Might Be Time. I think the most introspective and mature track on the new Tame Impala record. At number 48, the thunderous and anthemic Be Afraid from the new Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit album. And at number 47, while I am still completely lost when it comes to Wolf Parade in 2020, I still think Julia Take Your Man Home is one of the best tracks they've written in years. At 46, it's the Black Lips with Rambler. And at number 45, it's Sufjan Stevens' Sad Boy Synth Pop on Video Games. At number 44, it's Dressing America from Torres' new album. And at number 43, it's Busca Bulla with one of the funkiest, most colorful synth pop tracks I've heard all year with Vomino. At number 42, one of my favorite tracks from the new Grimes album, a track that I feel like kind of went unnoticed. It's 4 a.m. Love this track. And at 41, one of the most important but absolutely batshit insane singles I've heard all year. It's Dorian Electra, it's Pussy Riot, it's Village People with My Agenda. One of the wonkiest and out there pop tracks I've heard all year, but damn is it catchy and damn does it have a great message. At number 40, it is the silky smooth psychedelic soul of Leon Bridges and Khruangbin with Texas Sun. And at 39, easily one of the best house tracks I heard this year, it's Disclosure and Amine and Slow Tie with My High. This track is pumping. At 38, it's Thundercat with Dragon Ball Durag. And at 37, it's The Strokes with Bad Decisions. At 36, it's one of the most blissful and colorful moments from the new Woods album, It's Can't Get Out. And at 35, it's Margot Price with Letting Me Down. I listened to this track so freaking much this year. Love her vocals here. Still wasn't completely sold on the album, but this track is awesome. At number 34, it's Fontaine's DC with A Hero's Death. It's one of the best punk singles of the year. Nothing too fancy about it. And at 33, it's Hayley Williams with Roses, Lotus, Violet, Iris, featuring Boy Genius. I absolutely adore this track. One of the more experimental and left field tracks on the new Hayley Williams album, but it's a direction that I want to see her go more in. At 32, it's The Witches with the exhausted, burnt out I Love You Will Never Know. And at 31, it's Proto Martyr with Processed by the Boys. At number 30, I do get what people didn't enjoy about this album as much as I did, and I'm still getting some flack for it. But it's one from the new Dubs album. I don't know, something about this album really clicked with me, and I thought this single here, Prisoners, was just a really great anthemic track that made me review this album. At 29, George Clanton and Nick Hexum with Topanga State of Mind. And at number 28, while I still did not end up enjoying this album, which broke my damn heart, Beach Slang did come through with one of the best punk tracks of the year with Tommy in the 80s. Love this track. And at 27, we have Troye Sivan with Easy from his really great In a Dream EP, one of the best pop tunes I've heard all year. And at number 26, a track that has just built on me more and more and more since I heard it a few months ago, and it is just one of the wildest post-punk, electro-punk tracks of the year that I've heard. It's Special Interest with Street Pulse Beat. All right, we have reached the halfway mark. I'm going to try and slow things down a little bit now, go into some more detail. At 25, it's Aesop Rock with Pizza Alley from his Spirit World Field Guide album. Not my favorite track on the album, but nonetheless, a real crowning moment for the album. This was really around the time where I realized just how much of a spiritual album this was for Aesop Rock. And it's just one of the most impactful tunes here about his trip to Peru and everything he learned and felt there. It's pretty wild stuff. At 24, it is my favorite track from the Rina Sawayama album that I have been blasting all year and loving every inch of it. There were a lot of great singles on this album. This was actually really hard for me to narrow it down to one, but for me, I think Jose Garzón, Like the Boys, is my favorite track here and one of my favorite pop singles of the year. Love this hook, love the throwback pop vibes. It's great. At number 23, it's Freddie Gibbs and the Alchemist with 1985. This is another album that I've just loved more and more throughout this year. A lot of great tracks on this album, but 1985 just really sold it for me. This is what I personally love in rap more than anything else. I love the dusty production from the Alchemist, the throwback, sort of off-kilter, jazzy rap vibes, and Freddie's verse on here is fantastic. At 22, we have one from the new Pigs album, Viscerals. It's Reducer, one of the most explosive psychedelic metal, stoner metal tracks I've heard all year. It is just so anthemic, catchy what it needs to be. It's just a blast to listen to. It really rocketed me to loving this album very quickly. And at number 21, Jackson Phillips and Daywave come back with one of their best singles in years with Starting Again. This is one of the catchiest indie pop tracks I've heard all year. Love the throwback, sort of chill wave, lo-fi production here. It reminds me of what I enjoyed about Daywave years ago. And honestly, this is just one of the catchiest pop tunes I've heard all year. At number 20, it's Perfume Genius with Describe, one of my favorite tracks off of his new album. Once again, I feel like some of the more daintier singles on that album I've warmed up to quite a bit, but this is the track that really excited me for it. I love the big, bulky production. I love the risks that he takes here. Mike Hadrius is a freaking amazing artist, and Set My Heart on Fire immediately might be his best work. This single, Describe, is awesome. At number 19, a track that, since it was released a few months ago, has been on just about every workout playlist, every driving playlist that I've made. It is absolutely out of control. It's Rico Nasty. It's iPhone. This track is a freaking blast. It was easily the crowning achievement of her new album and one of the real hype-up tracks to that album that got me so excited, and I ended up loving it. So, honestly, this track is just a lot of fun, and also, it excites me for Rico Nasty's future. Her blend of hyperpop on this track is fantastic. At number 18, a single that just got inside my head this year and refused to leave. I ended up actually kind of listening on this album as the year went on. I'm talking about the new Khruangbin album, Mordecai, but honestly, every time I've gotten sick of it, Time, You and I, has nestled its way back into my mind. I'll be, finally clear of this track for weeks or a month, and I'll be in a store or somewhere and hear this track, and I'll start grooving again. It's honestly one of the funkiest tracks I've heard all year. I still love the hell out of this thing. At number 17, it's Bambara with Sing Me to the Streak. It's honestly not one of the more intense tracks on their newer album, but it is the most evil sounding, and there are a lot of genuinely Southern Gothic infused post-punk tracks on there that just sound so dingy, just so ready for a new season of True Detective. And I don't know, just something about this track, the pacing of it, and the heavenly backing vocals. It's one of my favorite post-punk tracks of the year. At number 16, it's Nothing with Famine Asylum, quickly becoming one of my favorite Nothing tracks. I just love how explosive and raw this track is. I love the production. I love the throwback to the early days of shoegaze that this album gave us. Not only that, but I never thought I'd be hearing Nothing this heavy in their entire lives. One of my favorite rock singles of the year. And at number 15, a track that, man, the last couple of months has just warmed my freaking soul. Really enjoyed the album as well, but this Chris Stapleton track, Starting Over, is not by far the best country track I've heard this year. One of the best country tracks in years, I think. It is just so lush and just warms my heart. It's just so incredibly full of love and life. I love this track. At number 14, it's The Killers with Dying Breed. Easily the best single leading up to this track. I love the arena-sized hook and just the energy behind this track, which I could say for so much of this album. I still love so much of this album. I don't understand why people aren't enjoying this more. It might just be me, but I love my rock big and badass and that's exactly what this album is. And yeah, I mean, I do enjoy a lot of the deeper cuts on this album a lot more, like Lightning Fields of Love, but honestly, Dying Breed's one of the best rock singles of the year. At number 13, it's The Weeknd with After Hours. Yes, Blinding Lights is great. Yes, Heartless is great, but I feel like After Hours encapsulated everything that I loved about the new Weeknd album. I love the pacing on this thing. I love the synths. I love the throwback vibes. I just love the character work within this track. It's a real journey, and I feel like we haven't gotten one of these from The Weeknd in so long. It's a great track. And at number 12, one of the most blistering, noisy, wild, exciting post-punk and post-hardcore tracks I've heard all year. Throw in noise rock as well. It's Mets with Hail Taxi. The second that I heard this track, I could not count the seconds faster to the new Mets album, which I ended up loving. But my God, this is just like ear candy for anybody that was raised on post-hardcore, whether it be Drive Like Joe or Fugazi. Honestly, take your pick. This is one of the noisiest, messiest, sloppiest, wildest rock singles I've heard all year, and it is just a great one to pump some iron to. It is awesome. And whoa, Nelly, yeah, this album sucked, but my God, at number 11, Washed Out, Too Late. I think I listened to this single more than anything else this year. Yes, that's because me and Washed Out, man, there's something about his music that takes me back to college. Guess I was just that chillwave guy in college, but honestly, I didn't like the album. But I still think that this encapsulates everything that was once great about Ernest's music. It's just so big and lush and greatly textured. It's just so anthemic. I love the big hook. It is just a really steamy, great chill wave jam, and I still love the hell out of this thing. All right, we're now in top 10 territory. Without further ado, my top 10 favorite singles of 2020. First off, at number 10, easily my favorite R&B single of the year. This album rips. I still love the hell out of this thing. It's Miss Leanne LaHavis with Bittersweet. As far as vocals on a track goes, this is one of the best vocal performances I've heard all year. It is just such a great throwback to the simpler time of R&B, where it is all about her performance and all about her lyrics. It is gorgeous. It is big. It is powerful, and easily just one of the most gorgeous tracks I've heard all year. And at number 9, I wanted to put the title track underneath because I loved it. I've worked out a whole lot to it. One from the new Code Orange album, I went with Salt for Surrounding. I thought this was a fantastic single for the band. Honestly, I love just how emotional it is without really coming off too cheesy or just a little bit too sappy. It still has the grit of a great metalcore album. That's exactly what makes this album so good, though. And at number 8, it's one from the new Hines album, which I cannot recommend enough. The ladies really knocked it out of the park on this album, and Just Like Kids Meow is one of the catchiest little indie pop tunes I've heard all year. It is like barely over 2 minutes, but it is so much fun. I love the performances. It's so catchy. It's just got that great Hines snarky attitude on it as well. It's got some freaking bite to it, and it's just a really well-crafted track, and I think it's one of the best and most instantaneous tracks they've written in years. At number 7, another album that really let me down. That would be the new 1975 album, but as much as that let me down, If You're Too Shy, Let Me Know did not. I thought this was honestly like peak 1975 going into this album. When I heard this leading up to the album, I was like, okay, they're gonna knock it out of the park. Yeah, they kind of didn't do that, but this track is freaking awesome, man. Between that big, beautiful hook and the horns and the throwback 80s synth pop vibes, and just everything about this track just seems to be a mission statement for the 1975, and I needed that right now. At number 6, I think pop track of the year, it's Lady Gaga featuring Ariana Grande with Rain on Me. My God, I mean, the new Lady Gaga album was very decent. Just a real great call to arms for pop from every generation. But this was so tasteful. The beat here is so great. It's got a strong dance groove. The vocals from both these ladies are freaking awesome. It is just so catchy. It just seems to encapsulate everything that was great about that album. It's easily, I think, the catchiest pop tune that came out this year. Just a really great song. And at number 5, yes, this track was released about 2 years ago now, but I found a real new appreciation for this track with the release of their awesome new album. I'm talking about To the Door from HMLTD. This is a wild, rip-roaring post-punk track for the ages. It has all sorts of weird genres thrown in, tons of different influences, and a completely erratic and out of control vocal performance. Like, what else can you ask for from a post-punk track right now? And at number 4, indie rock track of the year, I would say, it's Phoebe Bridgers with Kyoto. Honestly, before this new album came out, I wasn't that high on Phoebe's music, but hearing this made this a must review for me. I think her performance here is just staggering. I honestly think these are some of my favorite lyrics of the year. Phoebe absolutely knocked it out of the park on this track. It's just catchy enough. It is really an anthem for her. I really think this is her mission statement, and just such a great standout from such an awesome album. At number 3, it is one from the new Touche Amore album. It's the title track, Lament. Oh my God, leave it to these guys. Leave it to Touche Amore to just have that one gutting end of the year screamo track that just hits so hard. This is what that is for me. It's one of the best heavier singles that I've heard this year. It's just so catchy, and it just really wraps up every single feeling that Touche Amore had on their new album. Not too many bands can say that about a certain single, but that's what this was, and it is so freaking good. It hits so hard. Which leads me to number 2. I said to myself at the early stages of this year, I said, let's see what Charlie XCX does this year. Let's see if she could top what she did last year. And while you can argue that, either A, she didn't top it, or B, it's just as good as her Charlie album, there is one thing that I think cannot be argued, and that is at number 2, I think Claws was one of the best synth pop tracks of the year. This track was on constant rotation on almost every one of my playlists. It goes so hard. Charlie, once again, did not need to go this hard on a track, but she did it for us. It is so catchy. It is adorable in parts. It is just as wonky and experimental as all of her best stuff. This is great. Which leads me to number 1, and this is a track that I think I listened to more than anything this year. It is a track that caught my ear at the second that I first heard it and has not given me a single break even to this day. And the track came out in, February at this point? Maybe March? It's been a long time. It just sums up everything that I was feeling this year. I love everything about this track. I'm talking about my number 1 single of 2020, and that is Eve's Tumor with Gospel for a New Century. It is short, it is sweet, but it sums up so many great things about the new Eve's Tumor album. It's a little evil sounding. It's a little funky. It's got some really slick vocals. It's sort of reminiscent of a simpler time in these genres. There is a weird throwback element to it, but there's also nothing else quite like it out there right now, and that's what excites me so much about Eve's Tumor. This track is great, and trust me, it's gonna be up on my top albums list, which is coming out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Obviously, all of these tracks are going to be linked down below, as well as a playlist that I threw together for all of my singles as well, if you want to take this on the go. But that concludes our list. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys have been enjoying List Week. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter. As always, share. Get us out there. And, of course, stay tuned tomorrow for my top 20 albums of 2020. You're not going to want to miss it. Have a great day, guys.